Welcome back. Commissioner Pius Iikwambi of the Electoral Commission of Namibia, the ECN, was overseeing the process of inspection of the voting materials from the recent National Assembly elections. The process involved verification of over 2,500 teams' documentation, and it concluded at 5 today. The Commissioner joins us now in studio to further elaborate. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Nina, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Just to start with, perhaps we'll provide a bit of a background first. So you could start with elaborating on the inspection process for the voting materials, what specific items were being inspected.
Okay. So perhaps it's important that we set the proper context in the sense that the two political parties approached court. This is now the IPC and the LPM, requesting of the Electoral Commission to disclose specific information which pertains to the recently concluded elections. So although the initial request was in respect of both elections, which are presidential and National Assembly elections, we then had to clarify these issues in the lead up to the court process, to the effect that since the applications concerned were filed in the Electoral Court, the Electoral Court could only grant orders pertaining to the National Assembly elections and not the presidential elections, because in terms of our Electoral Act, any court issues pertaining to presidential elections are solely post-election are solely for the Supreme Court. So obviously the political parties wanted specific data, statistics pertaining to how the results were computed. So obviously now confined to the National Assembly elections, and that is what we have been doing, providing the relevant administrative forms that were completed by our officials on the election dates, and that obviously fed into the relevant administrative forms which led to the collation of results as they were announced by the chairperson. So that is the information that we availed to the political parties, all political parties, although there were two applicants before court.
Right.
Because of the interest that other political parties have in the process, an invitation was extended to them. The sensitive material, and by sensitive material I'm talking about now your ballot boxes where the ballot papers that were used are in or are stored in, that has not been opened up because the court order was really confined to just statistics and the administrative forms. So not that it cannot be accessed, but obviously there are certain processes that must be followed in terms of our Electoral Act in the event that an aggrieved party really wants to open up the ballot, the materials where the ballot papers are stored. Because you must understand, it's sensitive in the sense that once the voting has concluded and counting has occurred, these materials are still locked up. The ECN fixes its own seals. Political parties are also allowed to record their own seals. These are recorded and the material is transported back to the headquarters under strict police escort.
Right.
So obviously the process of opening up these boxes also then needs to follow strict security processes, reading of ballot of the seal numbers and so on. But the court order obviously was confined to non-sensitive material. Yeah.
So the matter concerning the presidential elections, shall we say that it's still a pending case now with the Supreme Court?
So in terms of the relevant law, obviously any aggrieved person obviously has up to 30 days after the announcement of results within which they can challenge or take up whatever court action. So there is still time. We cannot rule it out as yet because there is still time, the time period of 30 days post the announcement. So, but on the part of the Commission, we are saying that we will deal with it as and when it comes.
How has the ECN ensured transparency, during this period?
So obviously, when we went into the inspection room from yesterday, the materials were properly packaged in files in accordance to the teams, the constituency, and then the regions. So There were tables in the inspection room. We used our Central Election Results Center. That's where we set up tables, marked down or distributed in accordance with the regions. Each table then manned up by the regional electoral officer for that specific region, and the files for all the constituencies in that region displayed. So if a political party comes and says, I want to access the forms or data for this specific constituency, the regional electoral officer then pulls that relevant file, hands it over to the political party concerned. There was one political party which obviously brought a photocopy machine and its own photocopy papers, so they were busy duplicating these forms, and then we were then obviously authenticating them afterwards with our stamp. Those political parties which didn't have the necessary machinery for photocopying or duplicating, political party representatives were allowed to take photos of this, of whatever information and forms they were inspecting. So that is really just to demonstrate that the Commission has got nothing to hide, and we have lived up to our core value, which is transparency.
Any irregularities that arose from the process, maybe from the, the political party side, perhaps any concerns as well? I know that, of course, when they had requested for this, they requested a 2-day inspection, but there was some, concerns here and there that the 2 days were not enough in the end.
Yeah. So from the perspective of the Commission, everything really went smoothly because when the inspection occurred, the Commission was prepared. It's not as if when the day the inspection should have commenced, that's when the Commission was busy putting the files together. No,
right.
Everything was organized, and we could hand up whatever it is that was requested. So from our perspective, the 2 days were sufficient. Perhaps the political parties were not aware of the volumes that they're going to find, but that is the nature of the process that we had to undertake. And I hope now, them having seen what they saw now, they appreciate the magnitude of the work that we had to do in preparation for the release or announcement of results. So there were really no irregularities. And even those complaints that you refer to about people saying the 2 days were not enough, they were not brought to us, not in the hall, nowhere.
So there was no request for an extension of these 2 days?
There was no request for an extension, and I can understand why that request was not tabled, because you understand that, and it's important that we put it this way, although the 2 political parties applied to court, the Commission didn't oppose the request. So it was not a contestation of arguments for the request and against the request.
Right.
So what we then, once we received the notice of motion, the Commission resolved to say we would then grant the information as requested. So when we went to court on Friday, it's just to inform the court of the status of the Commission, to say the Commission has agreed, and the parties have agreed amongst themselves on the parameters of the inspection, whether it's now the rules or the rules around inspection, the search, the police presence, the number of days. So all these issues were on the table, and the parties, negotiated and agreed before they went to court, and the court just endorsed that agreement between the parties. I can tell you, from the side of the Commission, for example, we were saying, since we are inviting all political parties, let us only have, at least 2 representatives per political party. The 2 applicants insisted they should get 5 representatives, and the Commission accepted that. So whether it's the 5 representatives that were eventually on the field or in the inspection room from these 2 political parties, or it's the 2 days, or it's the starting time and the ending time, or it's the searching, or it's the photocopy, or it's the taking of pictures, all of this was agreed between the parties. Yeah.
So any feedback you've received from the political parties, concerning the inspection process so far?
So obviously, at the end of today, we obviously had to convene to just do a short debriefing. First of all, it was just to thank our stakeholders who really supported us through this process. Number one, our primary stakeholders is the political parties themselves. They were there since day one, the day of the request and the inspection day. They fully cooperated. Our officials, regional electoral officers and other ECN officials who assisted in the process, they fully cooperated with whatever request that came from the political parties. Our Namibian police also assisted us in maintaining law and order to conduct the search to ensure that nobody enters the inspection room with any dangerous items and causes disruption and all of that. So everything really went smoothly. There was full and good cooperation. It was really an inspection or a process that was conducted in a good Namibian spirit, I must say.
What is to follow after these inspections, Commissioner? So
from the perspective of the Commission, our task is done. From the perspective of the political parties, it's perhaps to now take the information that they have received and study it. But in any event, from our perspective, this information that was being availed now, it's information which was already in the public domain, because this is the information that came from the polling stations. It's just that it was obviously completed in triplicate format. Part of it was posted at the polling station, and now it has now been consolidated into one file. But obviously, it's up to the political parties to decide on what the way forward from their perspective is. But from the part of the Commission, we are fully satisfied that everything that was conducted during polling, during the inspection, was above board, and we are ready to defend everything that has transpired.
Commissioner Iikwambi, we thank you for your time this evening and thank you for being with us.
Thank you. You're welcome.
When we come back after this break, Conversations here on the Daily Roundup continues.